Hi, my name is Taylor Thomas Smythe, and I'm the author of the award-winning fantasy series Kingdom of Florida. Today I'm sharing with you about my newest book in the series, which is available today, and it's called Guardians of the Willow. Kingdom of Florida is a series of 7 books which follows the adventures of Oliver and his friends who find their way into an enchanted parallel world known as the Kingdom. Today in this special, I'm going to take you behind the scenes of the new book, give you a little teaser, and recap the series so far. If this is your first time engaging with the Kingdom of Florida series, don't worry. We'll do a little recap to get you up to speed so you're ready for the new book. You can use the links that are in the description of this video to shop the series now. What is Kingdom of Florida? Kingdom of Florida is an award-winning 7-book fantasy series which follows the adventures of 3 and later 4 friends who find their way into an enchanted parallel world known as the Kingdom. There they meet an evil prince named Florian, who watches their every move. It has everything you would expect and hope in an adventure: treasure hunts, enchanted maps, interesting creatures, and a story that is heartwarming and that the whole family can enjoy. While these books fall squarely into the middle grade category as far as reading level, they are easily enjoyed by people of all ages. They make a great read aloud for younger children, and so many adult readers have found them to be just so entertaining and engaging and gripping, and they have a hard time putting them down. As of this video, every book in this series has a 5-star rating on Amazon, and readers love it. To learn more, stick around while I recap the series so far, and check out Book 7, Guardians of the Willow, which is available now at kingdomoflorida.com, or use the link in the description to shop the series today. As you prepare to read the 7th and final installment in the Kingdom of Florida series, I'm going to take us on a recap of the past 6 books. Please note that there are minor spoilers to follow, so if you haven't caught up yet, proceed with caution. The Kingdom of Florida story begins in Book 1, The Golden Alligator. We meet 3 neighbors, Oliver, Ellie, and Ben, who discover a magical map that leads them to an abandoned house where they find an ancient key that unlocks an old door into a dark cave. When the children go through it, the door closes and locks behind them, trapping them in what they discover is a parallel world known as the Kingdom. On their journey to find a way home, the children make some new friends and learn that the Kingdom was once ruled by 3 rulers called the Triumvirate. But now an evil prince named Florian reigns, having poisoned the members of all 3 royal families, or so we think, and usurped their thrones. In Book 2, The Lamplight Society, Oliver, Ellie, and Ben meet a new neighbor, Annie, who goes missing in the Kingdom. When they go searching for her, the children get swept up in a larger quest to find hidden true heirs to the Triumvirate, leading to a dangerous run-in with Prince Florian. Book 3, The Place Beyond the Sea, picks up just moments after Book 2, in the aftermath of a fiery battle at an ancient banyan tree, where our heroes have been separated and must find a way to get back together. The quest to reunite the Triumvirate continues as major revelations and truths come to light. Book 4, The Fountain of Youth, wraps up the first half of the series with our heroes on a quest to stop Prince Florian from securing an ancient magic that could prevent them from overthrowing him for good. The story ends with one of my favorite legendary twists in the series. We jump ahead 1 year in Book 5, The Curse of Coronado. Though all seems well, there are still lingering questions as our friends gather to celebrate Oliver's birthday. He receives a mysterious gift that sets off a deadly curse. With only 3 days until its effects are made permanent, our heroes set off on another journey to stop the curse and hunt down a long-lost royal family member. Book 6, Coral and the Treasure Hunters, moves us ahead another few years, where our heroes have gathered for the wedding of Jasmine and Osceola. The festivities are interrupted rather dramatically by an old enemy, which sends our heroes on another risky quest to save someone they love and reclaim a powerful treasure. We also get to experience a parallel story that takes place decades earlier, bringing us much younger versions of Coral, Jessie, and other characters, both new and familiar. There's a lot more to the stories, but those are the high-level points that get us up to speed for the 7th and final installment, Kingdom of Florida, Guardians of the Willow. Now, let's check out more news about the new book. There's something so captivating about a good adventure story. So many of us have collective memories of the experience of stepping into an imaginary world for the first time. The Chronicles of Narnia, The Wizard of Oz, and so many others drew us in with their engaging stories. But another vital piece of that experience was the illustrations, which aided in syncing up our imaginations with those of the author and illustrator. My vision for the Kingdom of Florida series was no different. When I began to dream up the Kingdom of Florida series several years ago, I knew that I wanted it to feel timeless. Not just the written story, but also the experience of reading and seeing and imagining. Though in my writing I was intentional about structuring and using word choices that anchored the story in an imaginary past, I felt that the best way to immerse readers in that classic storybook experience was to include hand-drawn black and white illustrations in every book. For the initial book, I invited my friend Alice Waller to serve as illustrator.
Hi, my name is Allie. I am the illustrator for the Kingdom of Florida. So I am an installation artist and a painter.
She's a fantastic and prolific artist, and I had admired some of her work that featured that pen and ink style I was aiming for. The process began with me collecting ideas and inspiration, which I curated on a Pinterest board. I then shared the board with Allie and provided her with a rough draft of the book, so she could read through and determine which moments in the story could be illustrated.
Taylor and I will storyboard together. I look at some reference pictures, and then I kind of let the imagination of Florida take control. Some of my favorite illustrations have been whenever Taylor introduces a new character and I'm able to help people to visualize it. Of course, it's all coming from my brain and what I think that they would look like.
One of my favorite things happened when Allie chose a certain moment from the first book that was initially just a very brief mention. What was intended as a sort of fleeting Easter egg moment turned into one of the most captivating illustrations for the first book, the regal stag framed by branches in the woods. Receiving the final illustrations for the first book was an amazing feeling. It was surreal to see another artist take what was in my head, written on the page, and turn it into images that so clearly articulated what I had imagined. Allie went on to illustrate the next few books in the series before taking on other projects that kept her occupied. So for book 6, I turned to an old friend named Samantha Pollock, whose work and style I had also admired for some time.
Hello everybody, my name is Samantha Pollock. Something about connecting visually to a story is really special.
Sam did equally compelling work at bringing the story to life, and I'm so honored by her contribution to the series. I'm a graphic designer by trade, but my earliest artistic experiences were making pencil drawings on copy paper. So for the final installment in the Kingdom of Florida series, I decided to go back to my roots and try my hand at illustrating a few key moments in the book. I'm pleased with the final product, and I hope these illustrations continue to assist readers in imagining and immersing themselves in the world of Kingdom of Florida for years to come. Our journey began with 3 children, called into a land hidden between the cracks of our own. Along the way, they found magical secrets, courage, and new friends. Their adventures were many: a search for lost heirs to the thrones, a quest for an ancient fountain, a rescue mission, a treasure hunt. But many years have passed. The children are grown, and the kingdom is running out of time. A ruthless murder, powerful magic, the secrets of the past. Time is running out, and every story must come to an end. The final chapter in the award-winning fantasy saga has arrived. Kingdom of Florida. The complete 7-book series, available now. And now I'm going to read to you from the first chapter of Guardians of the Willow, which is the 7th installment in the Kingdom of Florida book series. Ready? Kingdom of Florida, Guardians of the Willow. Written by Taylor Thomas Smythe. Illustrated by Taylor Thomas Smythe. Chapter 1. Safekeeping. The night was clear and the stars shone bright over the palace of Mangonia. Situated in the northeast corner of that far-off country, it was one of the most splendid sights to behold, even in the moonlight, where its soft stucco walls and magnificent arches radiated an air of importance, as a cool breeze rustled a few stout palm trees. The massive citadel sat a little higher than the rest of the nearby village and its earthen humble abodes, and every entrance and exit was flanked by skilled guards with sharpened scimitars. A figure moved down the village thoroughfare, clinging to the shadows. It was nearly midnight. The shadowed individual stopped to scan the streets for any onlookers before proceeding toward the palace's primary gates. A metallic necklace jangled around the figure's neck, before being tucked quickly under dark clothing, where its sound was muffled. The guards were startled as the figure emerged from the darkness. They clicked their heels at attention. Before them stood a young man around 20 years old. Oh, one of the guards sputtered. "I'm sorry. Didn't realize that was you, Your Majesty." The young man continued confidently toward the open gate as the sentries lowered their weapons. The second guard chimed in. "A bit late for the ruler of Mangonia to be out wandering the city alone, isn't it, King Oliver?" With a slight nudge to adjust his round glasses, the young king nodded and continued into the palace without a word. While the pair of guards pondered his curious behavior, Oliver proceeded through the palace with purpose. His route and intent were clear until he arrived at a corridor off which several doorways diverged. The man stood scratching his head for a moment before continuing on down a candlelit hallway. A sudden creak from an old wooden door startled the man so that he let out a gasp. He turned to face a diminutive maid who carefully pulled the door shut behind her. "Didn't mean to scare you, Your Highness," she said with a nod. "Just checking on your grandmother." "How is she?" Oliver muttered, with little change in affect. The nurse shook her head. "It's not looking good, sir," she replied. "With luck, she'll make it through the night. You may want to say your goodbyes while you still can." Oliver nodded and proceeded to push the door inward. As he did, the necklace that hung over his chest slipped and dangled through the front of his garments, glinting in the firelight. "What a beautiful necklace," remarked the nurse as she stopped to admire it. "Ruby is my favorite of all the gems." Nervously, Oliver tucked the giant stone back under his shirt and entered the dim room. An assortment of votive candles in tiny strawberry glass cups lined the windowsill, and an arched alcove on the far wall. Directly ahead of Oliver was a simple bed, upon which an old woman lay, her eyes closed peacefully. "Coral," the young man whispered as he approached her. The woman's eyes fluttered open sluggishly. Her eyelids were a milky gray, the color faded from its usual vibrant hazel. "Oliver, my dear," she smiled. "Is that you?" He nodded hesitantly before replying, "Yes, grandmother. It's me, Oliver." Oliver knelt a bit so that their faces could be on the same level. The ailing woman strained a bit but eventually placed a gentle hand on her grandson's cheek. The old woman furrowed her brow. "Are you all right, Oliver?" Coral asked, barely above a whisper. "Of course," replied Oliver tersely. "Just happy to see you again." "This may be the last time we meet in this life," Coral managed with labored breaths. "And I just want you to know that I'm proud of you, my dear Oliver. When I'm gone, I know you'll continue to rule and lead with courage and grace." Oliver forced a smile. I look forward to it, for I learned from the best. Yes, dear, his grandmother replied. You have your mother's spirit, Oliver. And you'll share her fate, whispered Oliver. The gold chain dangled from his neck once more, causing the scarlet facets of the attached gemstone to catch a fiery glimmer from the candles. Coral's eyes grew wide as she watched the young man draw an object from within his garments, a small, sharp dagger. You're not Oliver. The old woman watched in horror as the young man raised the small blade. No, replied the man. I'm someone far worse. Before Coral's very eyes, the figure of her grandson began to contort and shift into a billowing blur of darkness. Seconds later, a woman with long, oily hair and a feathery black dress stood over the grandmother's withering body. Malvern, Coral said under her breath. I should have done this long ago, the witch rasped. Goodbye, old fool. Malvern raised the dagger with a malicious smile and plunged it downward, swift and sure.